how did it impact you when Kevin made an attempt on his life?
So, the morning I heard, I was with my high school girlfriend. This was our first semester in college. And my mom called me and told me that Kevin had jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and survived, but was in very bad shape in Marin County at the hospital. And so it kind of like knocked me off my feet. I had to sit down for a second, but quickly realized I needed to get to the hospital because I didn't know if he was going to survive. I mean, I'd never heard of anybody surviving that fall. We all knew that when you grow up in San Francisco, you hear stories like, oh, jumping off something that high, hitting water is like hitting concrete. So we raced to Marin General and saw Kevin. All the memories start to get kind of jumbled up at that point. But I remember first seeing him, and he wasn't conscious. All kinds of tubes in his side, and I had no medical knowledge at that time, and was seeing like black liquid getting pumped out of him, and I had heard that his internal organs were really traumatized from slamming against his pelvis and rib cage. So it was horrifying. It was definitely horrifying. And as he continued to pull through and get better and better, I guess the warning signs became more obvious. We started to see a little bit more of the pain. I mean, we'd known for a little while that he'd been struggling, but didn't know that it was that bad. So, it definitely wasn't as hard a time in my life as it was for Kevin, but it was definitely, it affected us, affected me. Oh, my mom loves Kevin. So, to lose somebody, my friends, she treated like her children. So she always welcomed everybody into our house, and Kevin had spent the night numerous times, and hung out with us all, my mom, and so to lose somebody so young, my mom's had loss in her life, and it was painful. It was painful with her own experiences, and this affected her terribly. So,
what were the responses, or at least in your recollection, what were the conversations like with the rest of our friends?
So I think initially everyone was shocked. Everyone was shocked that he jumped. Everyone was shocked that he survived. And then people who weren't really in our circle of friends needed to hear about it, kind of needed to hear that as we all realized how much pain, there's no way we could have known how much pain he was in, but we started to realize that there was pain there, and home life wasn't easy, and mental health wasn't great for Kevin at that time. So, people needed to hear a little bit about that, because, if you don't know him well, people make these judgments and don't really understand anything about it. I definitely, once Kevin started talking and talked about voices telling him to jump, and knowing that was what was going to happen when his dad dropped him off at school. So I think people needed to hear that that wasn't him. That wasn't like he just decided, I'm going to jump, it was this like strong force deep in his mind and his psyche that was affecting him negatively, that the chemicals in his body were causing. So, a little bit.
Yeah.
You get tired of explaining it though.
Yeah.
I mean, people,
Yeah.
not everybody needed to know. I wasn't a mental health advocate at that time. I mean, I wasn't the speaker, and so me trying to tell his story wasn't as effective as what he has done with his life since then. So actually, the first time that I saw you speak was not that long ago. So, I mean, you had been traveling, giving speeches, changing lives, doing good things. I mean, The Bridge had already come out. I'd already gone to see the debut of that in New York with you. So hearing the story at that point wasn't new to me, but seeing you up there, so it was in Washington, D.C. for a mental health conference. It was incredible to see you up there. They had just told you that, I mean, initially you went in, they told you what they wanted you to talk about, and then they told you right before, like, oh, we need to cut this hour-long presentation down to a quarter of, and so that was a bit of a shock, but I think you ran with it. You told your story gracefully in the amount of time that you had, and I thought it was incredible. I think you did an amazing job. I had already known that you were doing big things, good things, again, changing lives, saving lives through mental health, and living that hope helps heal philosophy. But this was my turn to see it, and it was nothing less than amazing. So, the ripple effect. Suicide, the ripple effect, I think is an important message. I don't think that it can take the place of the speeches that Kevin gives, because when somebody's in crisis and they have the opportunity to see somebody that has come back from the brink and struggled so much even after his attempt on his life, I think the movie is a great thing. I think it'll be good for survivors and people who are thinking about suicide, because then you'll see that all these people that you affect are now dealing with this great loss. And I think the first time I'd heard it, you may have heard it before, but my dad said to me around the time that you jumped was that it was a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And although for a lot of people mental health isn't temporary, it's a long-term struggle, but that moment where it's at its peak, at its worst, is temporary. It gets better, and then it can get worse again, it can get better. But this movie, I obviously haven't seen it yet, but I think it's going to be incredible. I'm looking forward to it, and hearing about how all the people that you have found around the world to be part of your life and help you change lives is going to be a great thing to see.
So you're part of that ripple effect.
You are actually.
You're a direct part of his ripple effect.
Yes.
How has your life changed since Kevin did what he did? Has there been a ripple effect in your life?
Yes. So Kevin is not the only person who has attempted to take their life in my life. So a couple of other people have been successful. One that I found, none of whom were as close to me as Kevin was, but people who were close. And although one of those others was very difficult, the one that I found, I think knowing Kevin's story helped me realize that when somebody decides to take their life, it's not cowardice, it's not something that survivors and people who may not even be associated with that person may think, like, oh, that person just couldn't deal with their problems. Most of the time it's that person not wanting to, they think they're causing great pain in other people's lives, and they want to stop that pain in other people's lives. So they think the pain that they feel is, and I can't speak for everybody, but just to analyze, and I've heard from many people in my career and in the careers that I've had in the past, that it's an attempt at bravery. So to eliminate their pain.
We have a perceived burdensomeness against everyone around us.
Mm-hmm.
So we feel that everyone hates us, doesn't like us, doesn't want us. And even in my situation at the bridge, I believe that everyone I knew wanted me dead.
Mm-hmm.
If I just asked you, if I just asked my dad, it would be a different story. But it's a real perceived burdensomeness that you believe that you are without value, and that everybody around you doesn't need you anymore. And the idea that pops into a lot of people's heads, and I've heard this countless times over 16 years in the field, is that people will say to me, I just believe that everyone thinks I'm horrible and that I should not be here.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, they don't.
No, I know.
So.
And we've talked about this before, and I have, I do live with chronic suicidal thoughts. They plague me pretty often enough. But the best outcome now today is that no matter how many times those thoughts come, I'm always going to turn to my wife, you, somebody, my father, and say, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
And I need help now, or else I'm not going to be here. And every time I've been able to do that, which is in the last 7 psych ward stay situations, that you've been a part of helping me get to safety in some of those cases. I mean, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. I think it was the 3rd psych ward stay. In a frantic moment, I called everybody I knew, and can you kind of, do you remember any of that where you came over and you helped me realize I needed to be in a hospital. I needed to be somewhere I could physically be safe for myself.
I don't think I had the intention of telling you needed to be in a hospital. I was young at this point, and I had no idea, the continued struggle. I couldn't have understood it. I mean, I still can't, but I was very naive to it. And so I remember going into the bathroom while you were sitting. You had kind of locked yourself in the bathroom at your house, and going in and grabbing you by the shoulders and shaking you and being like, dude, get a hold of yourself. Kind of being rough verbally with you, but hopefully not negative, but telling you, you gotta stop this feeling, the feeling that people don't care or life's terrible. This is in this moment. This is not gonna be forever. Nobody's trying to get you. All these people here that are surrounding you, that are in this house, are here because they care. And so that's, I guess whatever I said, the way that I did it, I was lucky that it affected you the way that it did. But I guess that's because that's the relationship we have. So you could count on me of not being gentle with you. But I talked probably more about my feelings than yours.
But you know what it was? You came in there, and me and my sister and all the other friends that were there had spent hours together getting nowhere. Mm-hmm. And you came in and you kind of shook me back to reality in a sense. And I have to say thank you very much, because in that moment, at that time, prior to being in that psych ward, it was your words, and I don't remember what they were, you
Mhm.
know, so long ago, but it was your words that, and your kind of face front in front of me saying, you're safe, no one's coming to hurt you, no one's coming to take you, we can get you to a safer place, or, you know, maybe Kevin, you need to consider, you know, therapeutic options here, and you just kind of, you got me back in the moment.
Mhm.
I was gone in my head, and you got me back in the moment enough to say, I need to be safe right now.
Mhm.
And maybe this is what that means. So thanks, brother, for being amazing.
Of course.
Love you, man.